Wow, I can't believe that we already reached chapter 100 of Jinx. It's been a wild ride so far, and I'm happy for each of you to be part of it and enjoy it together. Thank you, and I appreciate it a lot. To be honest, I kinda don't want to think about Jinx my ending soon. But actually, I have no idea how many chapters there are planned for the whole Jinx BL manhwa, since I tried to suppress the thought at best. But now I'm wondering. So does any one of you know? Please comment below if you do. I didn't know that it would be possible that Jaekyung would be more tired and done than he did when Kim Dan left for the first time, but seems as if it's possible. I'm shocked, because he really looks sad and super tired. Just look at his lips. They're super dehydrated and dry. His eyes are red and puffy. Hair undone, let me tell you, he's suffering inside. He was at the point to give Kim Dan a ring and ask him to stay, to now just letting him go. Why? Because I bet he still thinks that everything is his fault. Because of him, Kim Dan got attacked. He thinks he's not good for Kim Dan and tries to let him go. Remember when he initially bought a big bouquet of flowers and cake? He still bought a piece of cake, but in comparison, it seemed to me as if he still wanted to give Kim Dan a bit of his affection. But like, only a piece and not the whole cake. Since he's holding back, it breaks my heart. All I see is the little Jaekyung who now again has to accept to be left alone. But you know what? We just know he wants the very best for Kim Dan. He obviously wanted the best hospital room for Kim Dan. I bet it was him with different flowers. Remember when Kim Dan got flowers from Heesung? Our man was obviously jealous. Kim Dan obviously liked them. Jaekyung really thinks he would hinder Kim Dan's recovery. But as we know, he's not a person to make a big show out of his emotions, except for anger. I think that's why he left Kim Dan at the door when they said goodbye. It was hard for him, and he didn't want to make it more worse than it already was. But I bet this might came out wrong to Kim Dan. More like being ignorant and as if Jaekyung wouldn't care. But obviously he does. Now something different. Let me be really honest with y'all. I know that this is Kim Dan. I know that it just is character and the way he is. But it annoyed me to my bones that he first asked whether Jaekyung won, and then that it would be better it was him than Jaekyung. I got so angry. Because why Kim Dan? Why are you not once think of yourself first? I appreciate him being kind and always a wonderful soul, but it ripped my heart out when he got attacked. Ooh, I just love him so much. I just love when he finally starts to realize that he definitely deserves more and better in life. And I hope Jaekyung is going to be the man who will spoil him maximum. The flowers Jaekyung has sent Kim Dan are beautiful. It's never the same and has always a different color. Do you think this has a meaning? I think it's cute that though he's struggling with his conscience, he's still trying to do something good for Kim Dan. I know. It's the bare minimum. But for someone like Jaekyung, I think it's worth to mention because let's not forget how he was in the beginning. Obnoxious, obviously. Also, have you noticed how the Jinx picture has changed? It was in chapter 100 like that, but in 98, when Kim Dan got attacked, it was black, and in 99, it was neutral. So what does it mean? I interpreted it that way, from darkness to emptiness to light. The black version feels like pain and collapse. The white version feels like the silence after everything changed. And the sunlight version feels like healing, not forgetting the darkness, but learning to carry it differently. This is just what I personally thought, since it might be related or understood as Jaekyung's inner transformation. But it's nothing confirmed. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Now, let's have a look at the possible scenarios from the last thoughts, theories, and predictions video on Jinx. The first possibility was about that we would see the first interaction between Kim Dan and Jaekyung, and that Kim Dan would be confused seeing Jaekyung crying. He'd take Jaekyung's hand and Jaekyung would be shocked and still upset and crying. I wasn't sure whether Kim Dan would already wake up in this chapter, but he did. We definitely saw Kim Dan and Jaekyung in a tiny moment where Kim Dan seemed to be awake for a second. Their first conscious interaction was in front of Jaekyung's house. I guess so. Well, we saw Jaekyung holding Kim Dan's hand in their first interaction, where Kim Dan was aware. We also saw a Jaekyung who was completely sorrowful, though Kim Dan didn't see Jaekyung crying. I'm not sure whether to count that as correct or not, though. The second possibility was about that we would see how Jaekyung is still at Kim Dan's bed and talking to him, telling him everything and apologizing. The time would have passed and Team Black members and coaches would arrive too and tell Jaekyung to go home and wash up and get some sleep. But being Jaekyung, he refuses, since he still thinks it's his fault that this had happened to Kim Dan. Didn't happen. They did visit, but much later, not right after the match as Jaekyung did. The third possibility was about Jaekyung still being with Kim Dan and refusing to leave, though he's still wearing stained clothes, hadn't showered so far. Also, Kim Dan would wake up and sees Jaekyung holding his hand and sleeping with his head on Kim Dan's bed. Kim Dan would be confused what happened and would either heard everything Jaekyung said or nothing at all, but with full confusion. It was also about Kim Dan being his first question, if Jaekyung won or not. Jaekyung didn't sleep but was still there with stained clothes. We learned that Kim Dan heard Jaekyung apologizing and felt him holding his hand. Also, Kim Dan did indeed ask first if Jaekyung won the match. So I'd say it's what happened. What about the upcoming Jinx chapter 101? What is likely to happen? Let's have a look. Firstly, it is possible that we would see what each of them is feeling right after they separated. How will Jaekyung feel like? What will his days and night be like? Worse than they already are now that Kim Dan really left? What about Kim Dan? Where will he live and settle? Will he think a lot about Jaekyung? I think that's what the next chapter is going to be about. What life feels like now that they're separated again. And perhaps how often they're thinking of each other and realize how much they miss them. Secondly, we would see Jaekyung at the Team Black gym, and perhaps starting to have doubts about being a boxer. Is this really what he wanted and still wants? Perhaps the coaches and members would notice it too. I think they haven't really talked about what happened at the match and Jaekyung's mental state, but I'm not sure though. All I can think about if Jaekyung quits that coaches perhaps lose their jobs too at this gym. Thirdly, it is possible that we will see Kim Dan visit his grandmother at the hospice, and perhaps Jaekyung's former coach too. Will Kim Dan's grandma be aware that something happened to Kim Dan? I don't think someone told her intentionally in regard to her health state. Well, I hope so. We don't need Granny to get big worries about Kim Dan now that he recovered luckily. But fact is, we haven't heard from Grandma in a long time. So what do you think? What is the next Jinx chapter going to be about? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.